I did not have women pouring into me the way I needed growing up, especially when it came to my confidence and the way I view myself, and affected me tremendously. It affected me in ways of how I feel with women, how I felt, I should say, how I felt around women, my views on women. And it really, when I think about it, that is the thing that turned me into a people pleaser, was wanting to be accepted by other women. The things I did not get when I was growing up was things like I didn't get any guidance, no confidence building, and I quite often had to figure things out alone. I often had to navigate life with a lot of self doubt, confusion, and insecurity. I became used to putting myself to the back. I became used to feeling like people were better than me and better at things than I was. And a lot of that thought came from the way I was also treated by other women as a young girl. Most of the time, a lot of the times by adult women. A lot of the times when it was instances where I should have been being guided and supported, I was oftentimes being judged. So it gave me this thing of kind of wanting to stay away from women and other girls. And the crazy thing is, I'm a person who I easily connect with people and I make friends. But within that as well, I've experienced a lot of times where girls turning weird on me and stuff like that. That's a whole nother story for another day. But within that, I've always remained a genuine spirit and a genuine soul. And I became the woman that made it, I don't want to say necessarily a mission, but I give to women, young girls, what I did not receive. Overall, the way I grew up and the dynamics I had with women truly affected me in ways of the way I showed up around another group of women, wanted to play it small, wanted to kind of hide so I didn't feel targeted, and that the flaws I believed in myself wouldn't be brought out, wouldn't be brought up. So it really truly affected me in those ways. And I can sit here and say, I went through a thing of being angry and wanted to lash and wanted to be a mean girl, but that was never ever me. I've never jumped on a mean girl train. I've never done stuff like that. I'm totally a person that just because I'm hurt, I don't dish out my hurt to other people. I don't try to make them feel a hurt because of what I've experienced, especially if you have never done anything to me. I've just never been that type of girl. But it really affected the way I showed up with women I wasn't used to, new women I had to be around. I was a very insecure individual. Like I said, because I did not want to get targeted. I did not want to be my flaws to be shown for us to get picked at and stuff like that. And obviously that came from somewhere from me feeling like that. So if you are someone that's like me, most likely you grew up in like a household where either you didn't have the emotional support you might have needed. Rather, if it was like your mom dealing with her own stuff, so she wasn't very emotionally present, she didn't really have the time or the energy, or she didn't even know how to pour into you into a certain way. And sometimes I did experience a lot of verbal abuse. I only really received praise for what I would do for someone, how I would show up. If I was stepping up, I had to grow up very early. I was one of those girls I'm the oldest. So I was the second mom in the house, sometimes the first. And it really played a big role in me feeling like the only way I would be loved or accepted if I was being of service. So if I wasn't being of service to someone, they don't want to deal with me. They don't want me around them. They wouldn't accept me. And then even things like with growing up with certain women who would make comments on your appearance a lot. And I remember having a great grandmother that would say things to me on certain holidays like, your stomach is getting closer to the table, in a funny, loving way. But that really played a toll. That's something I remember of an experience I had. And when I sit back and think about my experiences with that particular grandmother, that is something that comes to my mind. And it comes to my mind for a reason because it affected me. It affected the way I viewed myself as a woman, how I was developing as a young girl, and something was wrong with me. I was getting fat. And then now I have issues with my body, dealing with your confidence. So if, growing up in households with, on one side of my family, I'm completely the black sheep. Just think differently. I do things differently, and just people really not understanding you and labeling you as things, and putting a lot on kids that they should not have nothing to do with other family issues that might be going on, not being protected, as a child when it comes to certain family issues or certain family dramas and things that are allowed, being labeled as things like from family members. If you're of a certain girl, and I know a lot of us young girls can relate to this from when we were younger, being called fast or not someone that you should be able to, people shouldn't be around you. And when I was younger, I wasn't doing nearly half the things people was labeling me as, and those are things that I should have not even had to dealt with as a young girl. Even if I was in a situation where I was probably doing things that I should not have, to prove the point of what I'm trying to say, my message in this video, no one ever came in and guided me and protected me. I was judged. I was judged a lot by women. I try my absolute best to not put other young girls and women in situations where they feel judged. I always try my best to create a safe space for people to understand them, to see them, because I never received that. And I am so glad that instead of me becoming an angry girl, a mean girl, and I had my troubles, don't get me wrong, I had my troubles, but I'm so glad I took on healing that and be in that space, especially because I have two young girls. And I would never want them to navigate through life without confidence and seeing who they are and believing in who they could be, because I lived so much of my life being that way. I didn't gain confidence until I was almost 30. I'm going to be 35 this year. So yeah, you do that easy math. And I'm just really beginning to walk into the woman that I know I want to become. And a lot of that I had to overcome, not having the confidence, not having that guidance and stuff. And I want to say this too. A lot of the times of the things that we experience is solely for us to overcome it and help the next individual. Some of us are really brought here to do that. So I never take my experiences in vain. I always sit back and look at how what I went through, I know another woman can relate to this. And if I heal from it, I know another woman can heal from this. And in my opinion, the number one way to heal from stuff like this is that you show up in the way that what you needed, but with boundaries though. We don't want to people please our way into showing up for people, doing it to people please. We're doing it for healing, for your healing, for the betterment of the next generation of young girls, for your daughters, for your nieces. Supporting them in ways that help them navigate through life with so much confidence, but in reality as well, they can believe that they can reach any heights and do what they need to do and show up as the best version of themselves. And whatever the best version of themselves is, that is okay in that moment. And I also want to encourage you to forgive and give grace to the women in your life who did not show up in the way that they should have. Because a lot of the times, people do not have the tools, they don't have the knowledge, they don't even have the capacity to show up for you in the way that they could have. And by you learning to step into that confidence and show up in a way the way you want to see, people will gain that respect for you, and they can't help but to begin to show up for you. They can't help but to want, sometimes, to be quite honest with you, the women in your life that was supposed to show up for you in that way because they were probably older than you, you begin to be the one to guide them through it, to show them what that looks like. A lot of people just never receive that and they don't know what to do in that. But it's some certain people like us, me and you, sis, that know how it feels to not have that, and they don't want that for the people after them. They don't want that for the people around them. And if you are that woman, you are something special. To take the lack of self confidence and not being poured into the way you should have been poured into, to not being taught to see yourself, to heal through that, begin to be that way and give that to other people. I give you so much praise for that because that is, we could be walking around here mad as hell, girl, and we choosing to still be light. And you be that light, and you be that confidence, and you be that guidance, and you let the world bless you. And I just want to leave you with this last thing. Just because you didn't receive something does not mean you have to become it. You have a choice in this life. We all have choices. Let go of that hurt, let go of that resentment, let go of that pain, let go of what could have been, and start living in her now. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. And that's all I have for you today. Talk to you later. Bye.